And good evening. Welcome to
I'm sorry. I'm messing up
Hey,
again.
See, he's better when we're live. He can't do this recording
Focus.
stuff.
I'm better. I'm
Focus.
so much better when I'm live.
Yes, focus. I'm like. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner. Took a week off last week, but we are back at it now, and another week of Coach's Corner here from the Highlander Activity Center. I am Paul McDonald, hosting here, and we got Jane Johnson on our camera here this evening, and we're going to be talking cross country to kick things off here. Now, the cross country team just competed today up in Fargo, and it was the Autumn Classic Distance Challenge. Am I correct?
Yes.
I know. Person my age, I saw ACDC and I thought, ooh, they had hard rock there, but no, that's not what it meant. It was the Autumn Challenge, or the Autumn Classic and Distance Challenge in Fargo, and we've got Reagan Berg and Greta Gobin joining us, number 1 and number 2 today. And Reagan, I'll start off with you. Have you run this course before?
I have, yes, in 7th grade. Yeah, 7th grade.
So it's been about 5 years.
It's been a while, yeah.
Okay, so did you kind of remember what kind of a course you were going to be facing?
I did. They changed it a lot this year, actually. This year included a nice hill that we had to run twice. But the last time I ran it, it was fairly flat. So.
Any course that you can think of that you've run this year that maybe it compares to?
Maybe Mayville. Yeah, that's just
Okay.
kind of how I felt when I was running it.
First place finish for today. Did you feel you ran a good race?
Yeah, I felt okay. My legs were pretty sore, but it felt good.
Is it one of those races, it's a fun race, it's towards the end of the year, or the end of the year, because the state tournament or state meet comes up in a couple of weeks, just to go out there and get one last bit of competition in?
Yeah, I felt good.
And Greta, number 2, took second here today. How did you feel you ran in this course?
I felt it went okay. I've never ran there before because it's been like canceled every year I've had it, but it was a little windy out there, I'd say, so that was a bit of a factor, but I think it went fine.
Well, I was talking to Coach Bilke here. I think you've never been able to get to this meet because we had blizzards a couple of times around that. The COVID hit, so that's why you never had a chance to run it. So it's good to get this in. 150 some runners. Are a lot of runners you're going to see, Reagan, at the state meet here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole state. Was it the east and the west?
There was more west schools and actually I think there was a few Minnesota schools like Moorhead. But then there was a few west schools, I think Jamestown. Yeah, Jamestown.
Jamestown was there too, okay. I'll ask you this question first. Getting ready now here, today is the 12th, so 10 days before the state meet. How do you prepare yourself? How are you going to get yourself ready for the state meet here on the 22nd?
Eat well, get enough sleep, because that's important. And doing all the recovery steps like stretching and doing the massage gun thing. And just mentally preparing that it's going to be hard and the first mile is going to be really, really, really fast, but you just got to deal with that and push through it.
How about tapering? Are you going to do any of that as you get closer to the date?
Yeah, definitely a few days before. I don't want to injure myself.
Greta, how about you? How are you going to, in the next 10 days, get yourself ready for the state meet?
Probably just at practice and stuff, pushing as much as I can, trying to get that much faster for state to, compete a little better. And really working on the mental toughness and focus during the race because there's going to be a ton of people there, it's going to be tight, and thinking about strategy and stuff like that I think would be important.
I know that I mentioned tapering to Reagan, and I'm sure coaches thought about, okay, we do have to taper. Is that tough for you? Because you love to run.
Well, it's just kind of tough because you never know what are other teams doing, or but I think it's always worked for EDC and stuff. I think the legs felt good for that when you did taper, so you just gotta trust it too. So. Okay.
And speaking of the EDC, Greta, along with Bryn Leak, all conference this year at the EDC meet up at Lincoln Park in Grand Forks. So how did you feel you ran in the race?
I felt like the best I felt that day. I don't know, the temperature was good, it was flat, I liked the course, so I don't know, it was good.
And as a senior and a sophomore, right? Senior and sophomore?
No,
junior. You're a junior and sophomore. Okay, you got one more year, good. I know your parents are like, no, she's not graduating yet. We're not ready. Having a 7th grader like Bryn Leak, how she's come up and really helped the varsity from the standpoint of a couple of veterans. How has that been fun to watch her progress this year?
It's really cool actually, because like my times were not close to Bryn's when I was in 7th grade, and she's gonna get so much better over the years, and like it's gonna be really cool to watch her get faster, because I know she's gonna be really good.
And for you, Greta, too, watching the 7th grader come up, and how just your thoughts on the way she's run this year.
Well, it's just like exciting because it's helped our team so much too. Like our team this year has been doing like way better, like just having another time like that, and she just works hard and she's good.
Now the tough question, your goal for the state meet.
My goal for state meet is to get top 10 and get a 1915.
That's your time, 1950.
That's my.
That'd be a PR.
That would be a PR, yeah.
Okay, Greta, same question to you.
I want to place higher than I did last year for sure, just to see improvement, and I want a PR. Even though the course is a little difficult than the ones we ran. I don't know.
And what would your PR be? You know.
Like around a 1940. If I could get a 1930, I'd be happy.
Okay. So
Or faster.
Or faster,
Yeah.
Right. Let's push for faster. Yeah. All right, well, ladies, again, thanks for joining us here tonight. And I know you got some time before the state meet, but good luck here at Parkhurst on the 22nd.
Thank you.
Regenberg and Greta Gobin joining us from the cross-country team. Coach Deb Bilke will be joining us here momentarily. It's Coach's Corner here from the HAC on the Highline Activity Network. Good. We're muted. Sweet.
Well done. These are naturals.
I thought when he asked you, you were going to say whatever Belky tells us to do.
Yeah.
Go eat a banana.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Back here on Coach's Corner on this Wednesday night, and we just got done having a chat with Greta Gobin and Regenberg, a couple of the cross-country runners, and now Coach Deb Bilke joining us. And first off, Coach, congratulations on EDC Girls Coach of the Year.
Thank you.
And they're the two reasons. They're two of the reasons why, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yep.
And has this been one of those fun years? Because we talked about how Bryn Leak has come up and really helped, and you look at this team, just a fun year all around for the cross-country team.
Yeah, it's a great group of kids, boys, girls, both. It's nice to see them mature into these roles, because most of these kids I've coached for 4, 5, 6 years in both cross-country and in track. And so they're kind of like my kids, which it's fun to see them mature into those roles and take those lead roles in the state.
This today, at the meet today, we talked about the ACDC in Fargo. Did you say about roughly 150 or so runners?
For the girls, yeah, for both of them, because they run all the way from 7th grade all the way up to seniors, and they just put them all on the line, and you just go for it. And so it's not a lot of teams, but it's enough to be competitive and get a good workout in.
And 1, 2, 3 with Reagan first, Greta second, and Bryn third, and then Cadence was 9th, I believe, and then 15th. Carly Groven was 15th. Pretty good for and a team championship too, by the way. Are those 5 runners? Is that what they can do? What you saw today?
Yeah, they run as hard as they can. I always say, with cross country, there's no timeouts, there's no water breaks. So these kids have to go anywhere from 16 minutes all the way up to 25 minutes as hard as they can, and accept the results that they get when they finish, because you don't know what's going to happen between one point and the other. And it was windy and cold. This is the first time we've had that combination of being cold and windy. We've had windy and warm, but that's a little different beast. You have to be careful so that you don't get side aches and different things like that. So yeah, it was a good meet for them, and it's been fun with this group of kids.
And your teams this year have run through all sorts of different kind of weather conditions, aside from the white stuff, but you've run in different kind of conditions all year.
Oh yeah, we've had just about every weather condition except for, I can say it's snow. We've had snow for state before, but yeah, we've had thunder, lightning, we've had sloppy conditions, we've had hot 90-degree weather, 95-degree weather, we've had windy, yeah, you name it. But the biggest thing is that you adapt to it because those are things you can't control. You have to
Right.
control what you can control with yourself, and everybody else is out in those conditions, so it's an even playing field.
That we mentioned, Greta and Bryn got all conference last week. Are those, did they run their best race, or do you think there's a little bit more in them?
Oh, they've got more. Yeah, they've got more into it. Sometimes with the EDC, what's kind of tough is they run 6 races, and with the girls' race, it was the last one. So after being there for about 4 hours, you finally have to toe the line and do your job. And so sometimes that gets to be a little tough. And I will put out a shout out to Reagan. Reagan was within 120 meters of being all conference also. Something unfortunate happened where she could not finish the race, but she has been ranked all year long, and to me, she still is all conference, even though she did not, or she was not able to finish.
Right. I think 5th or 6th in the state pretty much all season long for her. And she bounced back today.
Absolutely, yeah, took care of herself. There was a few things she had to adjust, and it was just kind of a freak thing that happened, and she's one of those kids that will take care of herself, and she does things right, and it's just unfortunate. And like I tell the kids, every time they toe the line, you don't know what's going to happen from now until the end of the race. So when you cross that finish line, you shouldn't be disappointed in yourself. It's a big privilege to cross that finish line and be able to do that.
10 days now before you go to Parkhurst in Jamestown. And this is where the state has been a lot, isn't it? The state's been up there for several years, hasn't
I think
it?
this is about the fourth year,
Fourth year,
it's
yeah.
it's been there, and the kids are the athletes that are running there. The majority of them are familiar with it. We did have a duel over there earlier in the year. And what's really nice is being in a park, you can go over there anytime you want. So we have the opportunity to go that Monday before state to go have a good workout on the course itself.
And the boys will be at 2, the girls will be at 2:45
Yep.
on Saturday the 22nd. So they have this 10 days. We were talking to the young ladies about what they are going to do to prepare. And you and I think talked a little bit about it a couple weeks about that tapering. Is that still something that will be in their mind after you practice on Monday on the course? Maybe as you get closer to Saturday, tell them, okay, you can back off a little bit, at least as far as running.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have some pretty good workouts starting Friday. They'll run on their own tomorrow. We have parent teachers conferences, so they will be doing some running on their own, which they enjoy too. And then Friday all the way through about Wednesday, we'll be hitting it pretty hard, keeping them tip top. And then Thursday, Friday will be a taper. It's a proven fact. I've used it for 40 years, so they need that taper time, and it gets to be a challenge when you're so used to pushing yourself to take a couple days and pretty low key where we do low mileage and pretty easy. We do some fun things during those times, but that is so necessary because rest days for runners are just as important as the interval days.
Right. Now we've been talking about the girls, but on the boys' side today, how did the boys run today?
They ran pretty well. We've got a lot of new athletes, so sometimes it's kind of questionable what's going to happen. But Corbin was our top runner, and then it was Tucker. But with Tucker and Isaiah and Robert, this is their first year of running varsity, and they started a little bit late because they thought it looked like a lot of fun. So they started the group a little bit late, and then our young kids really ran well too. They just let it all out there because that was their last race. But they ran well. I was pleased with them.
Well, we mentioned Bring Leak is a 7th grade. Tyson Claybo, I think, has really stepped up and done pretty well on the boys' side, and he's an 8th grader, 7th or 8th grader.
Right. We have 3 8th graders that have run very well with Tyson Claybo, Jack Sorby, and Elijah Drummond. They've pretty much been, there are only 3 junior high kids, but they've really improved a lot. And you'll see that over the course of the next couple of years, especially with boys. As they mature and get older, they just get so much stronger. It's amazing the difference like between an 8th grade boy and a 9th grade boy, even with running. And so they'll take another big step next year.
Well, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the 2 ladies. Expectations heading into the state meet coming up on the 22nd.
I always have pretty high expectations for them, but I guess my biggest goal is for them to run what they are capable of running. If they do that, everything takes care of themselves. But just run up to their potential, and we'll be okay.
Okay. All right. Well, Coach, I appreciate you stopping by. And, well, like, again, hopefully talking to you in a couple of weeks about a pretty good run at the state meet here. And Parkhurst is always a fun place to go in Jamestown. Hopefully weather holds out. But you guys, doesn't really matter what the weather is. We're going to run regardless of what the weather is.
That's right.
All right, Coach, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Coach Deb Bilkey joining us on the Highlander cross country team. We'll be back with more of our Coach's Corner here from the HEC on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here on the Highlander Activity Network and this edition of Coach's Corner. Again, Paul McDonald hosting. We got Jaden Johnson joining us on camera. And now we're heading to the gridiron, the football field. And Coach Scott Rourke from the Highlanders joining us. Coach, how you doing?
Doing okay, just trying to thaw out from practice, but other than that, it's all good.
Yeah, this is probably one of the first practices where it's been
You had a cool temperature and the wind, of course, but we're used to the wind, but it's you're never used to it, I think, when
Right.
it comes back to you. But it's good to be out there, too.
Well, the Iron Helmet is residing in Valley City for the first time in a while. That's the trophy that Valley City and Jamestown play for, and 34-6 the final on Friday night, Coach. And you knew it was going to be a tough game because Jamestown is, they're a good football team.
Yep.
Hochhalter, very good quarterback, and you saw it in some of his throws. Your thoughts on Friday night's game against the Blue Jays?
Well, first of all, Jamestown does have a very good football team, and I don't think the score was an indication really of how close the game was. We got some breaks. We had 5 turnovers. I think there's 3 fumbles and 2 interceptions.
Yep.
And they didn't all happen in great places for them because I give them a lot of credit. They were down in scoring position when they happened. They held us, and at least we had a field goal kicker this year, so we came out of there with 6 points, which is something in a lot of years we haven't had the luxury of. They were tough on us in the run, and we knew we were going to have a tougher game. Mm-hmm. And I think the part of it, I was very proud of our guys, was being patient because, I think there was a little frustration at the end of the first quarter, and I had to remind the guys, hey, you're up 6-0, guys. Great job. Way to win the first quarter. But, and I think sometimes it takes some time to find some things offensively once we figure out what they're trying to do to us and, okay, we got to make an adjustment and go here. The bad thing is you get 3 plays, and if you don't get a first down, you got to punt it away and then try to, figure it out as you go. So give our kids a lot of credit for staying patient. Coach Chad Smith as well for trying to figure out where we could attack. And I think you saw that towards the end of the game that some of the stuff opened up that maybe wasn't there earlier. So I'm very proud of our kids. I don't think, and I remind them that the moment's not too big for us. It's a football game. And but we want to keep climbing and not be satisfied where we're at right now. But it sure was. I was very, very happy for the kids. It doesn't happen very often that we get that privilege of winning a game against Jamestown.
And of course, Jamestown, they left the class, and we're in a different class, so we went on about a 14-year hiatus between playing them, but now it's good to get them back and playing them again. And one question I was going to ask you, the Hail Mary at the end of the first half, how big of a momentum boost was that heading into the locker room?
Well, I think it was a big one. You look at, we got 2 field goals, and then I think they came right down the field, scored a touchdown, a 30-yard pass or whatever it was. Didn't take them long. And then you got that kick return. Mm-hmm. It was like, boom. As soon as that happened, we got some momentum again. And then, okay, well, we'll be okay going in, with 14-6 or whatever we thought it was going to be. And then, heck, we got a timeout. Let's call it. What do you think, Coach? Let's line up kids in a formation we've never lined up in this year. I mean, it is. Guys, run down the field, and we'll see if we can just throw something up. And sure enough, another break.
Yep.
Another break went our way. So, it just kind of gives you that helps you remember the game's not over, and every play does matter, and you never know what can happen. So, went our way.
You mentioned the kickoff return. It was Aiden Jacobson that brought it back 80 yards after they had the nice drive to score. we've been talking about Ethan Miller and Gavin Gerhardt and Zach Sikora and Bryson Heck, but Aiden Jacobson on both sides of the football. I think he had a couple of interceptions. What he has done for this team, what he brings to the table that we don't really talk about that much.
Well, you don't see it in the stats column. We are a very heavy run team, and Aiden is a tireless blocker for us out there that a lot of people don't understand. When we run a sweep, most times it's to, Ethan, but it can be Gavin too, depending on where we line him up. But he's out there blocking on the perimeter for us. But you know as well as I do, he had some huge catches and runs yak yards after the catch for us that were big, that got us, I think, a touchdown. It kept a drive alive for us to get a touchdown. So, Aiden's ready when he's called upon, and his leadership and his willingness, his unselfishness is something that I know his teammates and we as coaches certainly appreciate.
And I don't think they see the speed, because he showed some of that speed a little bit on that kickoff return. When he got by some people, it was gone.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a different motion to him or gait to him when he runs, but he's got some speed. That's right. Yeah.
Well, again, the defense. The defense came up, only allowed the one touchdown, only given up 32 points in these 7 games. And your front defense, so your front 7, really have seemed like they are taking control of that line of scrimmage when they need to.
Well, sometimes I'm going to give our kids a lot of credit. I think they've done a great job, and Coach Engen's done a great job, and Coach Suffolcool with our linebackers too. Sometimes it just depends on who you're playing too. We've played a lot of pass-heavy teams, and we're going to play another one this week. They like to throw the ball around. And top 2 receivers in the EDC are Grand Forks Central, which means they like to throw the ball. So we're going to have to be ready for it. Maybe it's a little different. I think Hochhalter from Jamestown kind of like to look for that big play, and I think these guys are more than willing to take the little stuff, as they go. So we're going to have to scheme up maybe a little bit or different, but hopefully we'll be ready for that. And anybody knows that their best pass defense is a good pass rush.
Yep.
So anything we can get out of these kids on occasion, Scott Rohde gets through there, and one of the fumbles, they didn't even block Brady Gassetti. He just went right down Main Street. And Zach Sikora's done a great job off the edge for us too. So it's been a good team effort. Yeah.
Yeah, this Lamont, the quarterback for Grand Forks Central, averages a little over 200 yards a game. I think they're the number 1 passing team in the conference, and I think that's all classes. But so it is going to be something different that you haven't seen. Well, you did see it last week. I mean, really, with Hochhalter throwing 22 times, you did see it last week.
Yeah. It is. It's like I said. It's a little bit different. They've got some big receivers too. And so we're going to have to deal with that. But I feel very confident in our kids too. We've got some pretty good athletes in our secondary as well too.
Strandell, who's number 3, people might remember from the basketball court. I think he's like 6'3", 6'4".
Yep.
So they're going to have some length to him. So is that going to pose any kind of a challenge? I mean, your D-backs might be a little undersized, so they're going to have to play a little bit taller than they are.
Well, you do what you can, and you try to help your guys out, and sometimes you put certain people on certain people just because of physical mismatches, and you don't want to get that bigger mismatch.
Right.
And so hopefully we've got a decent scheme to handle that as best we can.
You mentioned special teams. You mentioned kicker Bryson Heck. Towards the end of last year, stepped in to kick, and now this year has been phenomenal. Had a 24 and a 27-yard field goal on Friday night. Probably Austin Thornton's last time you had a kicker you could just say, get out there and kick a field goal. How big is that to have that in your bag?
Well, I think when you get to playoffs and these tougher games, I mean, points are at a premium, and anything you can get, they're huge. We don't think much about that point after touchdown. It's a gimme. It's not a gimme. And you're still dealing with high school kids that have to get a good snap, a good hold, a good kick, and get through where it's supposed to. It's not a gimme. So for us to be able to excel right there and have Bryson's consistency is just huge. I know our guys have a lot of confidence in him when we send them out there.
Final question, Coach. With this team, with the Knights on Friday night with Central at Cushman Field, last road game of the regular season, what is going to be a big key for you guys to come up with another W?
I think the biggest thing is we've got to be able to establish the run game again, the line of scrimmage there, and I think We got ourselves in some penalties, again. I mean, I'm sorry, we're not going to come back from a 1st and 35.
Yeah.
Whatever we found ourselves in. And we've got to stop doing that to ourselves. We've got to eliminate the big play, that capability that they have. And if we can do that, I think we'll have a good chance again.
Final question, too. I just thought of this. The kids see the full house that we had on Friday night. I think Hannaffield was full. Student sections, the new train whistle. How does that really get these guys motivated? I mean, they shouldn't need extra motivation, but I'm sure they saw that and just like, that just went out there.
I don't know. I can't speak for
Sure.
them. I heard a whistle here. I don't look much in the stands. I don't pay attention to a lot of that peripheral stuff, and I'm not sure how. I hope our kids don't, as well
Right.
during the game. But I think they certainly felt the energy. They felt the support from the community. I think it was a neat environment. And hopefully we can duplicate some of those in the future too.
All right, Coach. Well, the most important game is the next one.
Yep.
And that's Grand Forks Central here on Friday night, Cushman Field, 7 o'clock kickoff. Let's keep it going. Let's keep playing some more football.
Well, we'll do what we can.
All right, Coach, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Coach Scott Rourke joining us from the Highlander football team. Back with more of our Coach's Corner here from the Hack on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here on the Highlander Activity Network and Coach's Corner as we wrap things up for this Wednesday night. And just to preview what's coming up here next week, we will have tennis, state tennis, this past weekend in Minot. It was supposed to be in Grand Forks, but hotel rooms were at a premium up in Grand Forks last weekend with the Fighting Hawks in town and Chris Stapleton concert, so they moved state tennis to Minot. And Kai Kringley, Trey Cope, they finished 5th in doubles at the state tennis meet in Minot last weekend, and we'll have those two gentlemen and Coach Nielsen coming up next week talking little tennis. Volleyball team coming off a big win last night, a much-needed victory against Wahpeton here at the Hack, winning 3-1 against the Huskies. They'll be on the road at West Fargo. The next home match for the volleyball team will be on the 18th, next Tuesday, as Fargo Davies will be in town, and they'll wrap up the home schedule on October 27th against Grand Forks Red River. Looks like the Highlanders are going to be probably in that number 9 spot, which means they probably would have to travel to Red River for the play-in game. So that game on the 27th would be a preview to the play-in match. So that's what's coming up. Again, state cross country on October 22nd. That'll be in Jamestown. And we talked about Friday night football against Grand Forks Central. Again, the Highlanders still the number 1 ranked team in the state as far as the media is concerned. And the power poll, if you will, the QRF that based on how they're going to base the seedings, still number 1 there, but not a lock to stay in that number 1 spot. They got to win out here at Grand Forks Central this Friday, then at home against Fargo South next week. And if they can win out and go 9-0, they'd be home field throughout the playoffs until the Dakota Bowl at the Fargo Dome in November. Well, that's going to wrap things up for this week's Coach's Corner. I want to thank our guests tonight, Reagan Berg, Greta Govin, and Deb Bilkey, and Scott Rourke, and of course Jaden Johnson, our technical director and cameraman tonight, and for you joining us here on the Highland Activity Network. And always a big thank you to our sponsors, Essentia Health, Valley City Booster Club, and Dickey Rural Network. Want to thank them for how they have helped the Highland Activity Network get things going. We're back next week, 6 o'clock, Wednesday nights. You can find us here at the Hack in our little corner of the world. It's Coach's Corner. We'll be back next week here on the Highlander Activity Network.